Exile. That's the solution, and I'm afraid it's the only.
Ladies and gentlemen, imagine this headline flashing across every screen on the planet. A royal coronation meant to celebrate elegance, unity, and centuries of tradition suddenly explodes into chaos. Cameras rolling, crowds cheering, millions watching live. And then, in a moment so shocking it felt almost unreal, the crown meant for Catherine, Princess of Wales, is suddenly destroyed. Yes, destroyed. And the person standing at the center of the storm? None other than Queen Camilla. But here's where the story turns from royal ceremony into a full-blown palace thriller. Because just hours after that jaw-dropping moment, insiders claim that Prince William didn't simply react with shock or disappointment. According to whispers from inside the palace walls, he issued one of the most brutal commands ever heard in modern royal history: immediate exile. Exile, not a warning. Not a quiet apology behind closed doors. Exile. So what really happened inside those guarded palace corridors? Was the destruction of Catherine's crown a humiliating accident, or the final move in a bitter royal power struggle that had been brewing for years? And if Prince William truly made that explosive decision, what secret evidence pushed him over the edge? Tonight, we're diving deep into the scandal the palace desperately hoped would stay buried. Buckle up, because this royal story doesn't just sparkle with diamonds, it drips with betrayal, rivalry, and a shocking twist no one saw coming. The morning of the grand coronation was supposed to be flawless. Cameras from every corner of the world were already positioned outside the cathedral. Royal commentators were rehearsing their polished speeches. Thousands of people lined the streets waving flags and chanting the name of Catherine, Princess of Wales, as if they were witnessing the rise of a new royal era. But behind the velvet curtains and golden gates of the palace, the atmosphere had been anything but peaceful. For years, whispers had followed the uneasy relationship between Queen Camilla and Catherine. Publicly, they smiled for cameras, exchanged polite gestures, and pretended the royal family was one big harmonious unit. Yet insiders, those mysterious sources close to the palace who always seemed to know a little too much, had long hinted that tension was quietly boiling beneath the surface. And the reason? Power. You see, Catherine wasn't just another royal figure smiling at charity events. She had become the global face of the monarchy, elegant, adored, and dangerously popular. Every time she stepped outside the palace gates, headlines exploded. Fashion brands copied her outfits within hours. Crowds screamed her name like she was a pop star rather than a future queen. And according to one anonymous palace staffer who spoke under the condition of anonymity, that level of attention didn't sit well with everyone. Camilla hates the comparison, the insider allegedly revealed. Every event, every photo, every headline, Catherine gets the spotlight. And Camilla? She's always standing just slightly in the shadow. Now imagine watching that happen for years. Imagine the quiet resentment building with every headline praising Catherine's grace. Every viral video of the public cheering her name. Every royal ceremony where the younger princess seemed to steal the entire show. Some royal watchers even claimed the rivalry started long before the coronation drama. Old tabloids resurfaced reports of icy glances at charity galas. Subtle scheduling clashes that mysteriously pushed Catherine into the spotlight. And then there were the rumors of tense private meetings behind palace doors. Meetings that reportedly ended with raised voices and slammed folders. Of course, none of this was ever officially confirmed. But as the coronation approached, one object symbolized everything that rivalry had been building toward. The crown. Not just any crown. A priceless royal piece prepared specifically for Catherine's historic appearance during the ceremony. It was rumored to be adorned with diamonds worth millions, carefully restored by palace jewelers and kept under tight security in the royal vault. Royal commentators described it as the symbol of a new generation of monarchy, and that, according to some observers, might have been exactly the problem. Because if Catherine wore that crown in front of millions of viewers across the globe, the message would be impossible to ignore. The future of the monarchy belonged to her. The night before the ceremony, palace insiders say tensions inside the royal residence were already running unusually high. Staff members reportedly noticed unusual movements in restricted areas. Security logs showed late-night activity near the royal preparation rooms. At the time, it seemed like routine last-minute arrangements. But hours later, those details would start to look very suspicious. Then came the moment that changed everything. The coronation ceremony began with all the usual royal spectacle. Church bells rang across the city. Choirs filled the cathedral with powerful voices. Cameras zoomed in on the smiling faces of dignitaries and world leaders attending the historic event. And finally, the moment everyone had been waiting for arrived. Catherine stepped forward. The room was silent with anticipation as the ceremonial attendants approached carrying the crown. Viewers around the world leaned closer to their screens. Social media exploded with excitement. One viral tweet read, "This is history. Catherine is about to become the face of the modern monarchy." But just as the crown was about to be presented, something went horribly wrong. Witnesses claim a sudden commotion erupted near the ceremonial platform. A sharp metallic sound echoed through the hall. Gasps rippled through the crowd like a shockwave. And then, in a moment that left the entire cathedral frozen in disbelief, the crown, yes, that crown, was no longer intact. One palace attendee later described the scene in 3 chilling words: it was shattered. The glittering symbol meant to crown Catherine's historic moment had been damaged before millions of eyes. Within seconds, chaos replaced celebration. And standing disturbingly close to the scene of the disaster was Queen Camilla. The moment the damaged crown was rushed away from the ceremony platform, confusion swallowed the cathedral. Officials quickly tried to continue the event, musicians resumed playing, and attendants whispered frantically to one another. But it was too late. Millions of viewers watching the broadcast had already noticed something was terribly wrong. Within minutes, the internet exploded. Clips from the ceremony began spreading across every platform imaginable. Freeze frames showing the cracked royal crown, zoomed-in angles of the stunned reaction from Catherine, Princess of Wales, and most importantly, footage capturing Queen Camilla standing just steps away from the scene. One viral post read, "Did anyone else see Camilla right next to the crown when it broke? This is not normal. Something happened." Another tweet gained over 2 million likes in under an hour. "You're telling me the most protected royal artifact just accidentally shattered during the most important ceremony of the decade? Yeah, I'm not buying it." Soon the hashtags began climbing worldwide trends. Crowngate royal sabotage justice for Catherine. News channels that were supposed to be covering a glorious royal celebration suddenly shifted tone. Commentators leaned closer to their microphones, voices dropping into that dramatic investigative style. "What exactly happened to the crown?" one broadcaster asked. "And why was the queen consort standing so close when the damage occurred?" Meanwhile, anonymous palace sources began leaking statements to reporters faster than anyone could verify them. One insider claimed the crown had been inspected just hours before the ceremony and was in perfect condition. Another alleged that security footage from the preparation chamber showed someone entering the room shortly before the ceremony began. And then came the twist that sent the entire story spiraling into even deeper chaos. According to a leaked message circulating among royal staff chat groups, a palace technician had allegedly reported tampering with the crown's class mechanism earlier that morning. Tampering. Not an accident. Tampering. The message was never officially confirmed, but screenshots spread across social media like wildfire. Soon the debate turned savage. Supporters of Catherine flooded comment sections defending her. "She handled that moment with dignity," one fan wrote. "Imagine your coronation being sabotaged on live television and still keeping your composure." Others were far less diplomatic. One viral post bluntly accused Camilla of jealousy. "Catherine is beloved worldwide. Camilla knows it. This wasn't clumsiness. This was humiliation." But of course, not everyone agreed. Camilla's defenders quickly pushed back. "This is ridiculous," another user wrote. "You're all attacking a woman based on speculation and slow-motion camera clips." The arguments became so intense that even celebrities began weighing in. A famous TV host posted, "Royal Coronation turning into a Netflix drama in real time. Someone better explain what happened to that crown." A well-known pop star added fuel to the fire with a cryptic message, "Jealousy has destroyed more crowns than time ever could." Within hours, the scandal had completely overshadowed the ceremony itself. International news outlets ran headlines like, "Royal Coronation Chaos, Crown Destroyed on Live Broadcast." Financial analysts even speculated whether the scandal could damage the monarchy's reputation globally. But inside the palace walls, something even more dramatic was unfolding. Because while the public argued online, one person had already started investigating the truth. And according to several insiders, Prince William was not reacting calmly. He was furious. Staff members later whispered that William had immediately demanded security reports, witness accounts, and camera footage from the preparation chambers. And that investigation led to a discovery that would completely change the story. Because hidden within the palace security logs was evidence suggesting the crown may have been deliberately interfered with hours before the ceremony. Evidence pointing towards someone who had access, authority, and motive. Someone powerful enough to walk freely through royal corridors without raising suspicion. When those details quietly reached William, Insiders claim the future king didn't hesitate. According to multiple palace sources, he made a decision so severe that even veteran royal staff were stunned. A decision involving only 2 words: immediate exile. But the question that now haunted the entire palace was far more dangerous. What exactly had William discovered? And was Queen Camilla truly at the center of it all? Inside the palace, the atmosphere had shifted from confusion to something far darker. Doors that were normally open to staff suddenly closed. Security officers were seen moving through private corridors. Phones buzzed constantly as aides whispered in tense voices. Something serious was unfolding behind the scenes, and at the center of it all was Prince William. While the world argued online about what they had seen during the ceremony, William had already locked himself inside a private meeting room with palace security advisors. And according to multiple anonymous insiders, the footage they reviewed there changed everything. Because the palace cameras had captured something the public broadcast never showed. Hours before the coronation ceremony began, someone had entered the private preparation chamber where the royal crown was being stored. The individual had access clearance. No alarms were triggered. No guards stopped them. But the most shocking detail? The person entering that room was reportedly none other than Queen Camilla. Now, palace officials immediately insisted the visit was routine. Royal family members often inspect ceremonial items before major events. On paper, there was nothing unusual about it, but investigators noticed something strange. The timestamp on the footage showed Camilla entering the chamber alone, and remaining inside for nearly 7 minutes. 7 minutes. That might not sound like much, until you realize that palace jewel technicians later confirmed the crown's fastening structure had been loosened deliberately. Not broken by accident. Loosened. Meaning the moment the crown was lifted for the ceremony, the fragile structure would collapse under its own weight. Suddenly, the narrative changed completely. This was no longer a mysterious accident. This looked like sabotage. When those findings were presented to William, insiders claimed the room fell into complete silence. No one dared speak. Some officials reportedly suggested delaying the investigation until after the ceremony to avoid public scandal. But William reportedly refused. Because to him, this wasn't just about a damaged royal artifact. This was about humiliating his wife, Catherine, Princess of Wales, in front of the entire world. And that, according to one palace aide, crossed a line that could never be ignored. Within hours, rumors began circulating that William confronted Camilla privately. No cameras. No witnesses beyond a few senior advisors. What exactly was said in that room remains unknown. But several insiders claim the conversation ended with one of the most shocking orders ever issued inside modern royal circles. Exile. According to those sources, William demanded that Camilla immediately withdraw from all public royal duties and leave the main royal residence until the situation was resolved. No public announcement was made. No official statement confirmed it. Yet palace observers noticed something impossible to ignore. When the royal family appeared on the balcony later that day to greet the cheering crowds, Catherine stood proudly beside William. But Camilla was nowhere to be seen. Royal commentators scrambled to explain the absence. Some suggested illness. Others claimed she had been scheduled elsewhere. The palace simply said nothing. And as silence grew louder, speculation grew even louder with it. Did William truly banish Camilla from the palace? Was the crown sabotage a calculated act of jealousy, or something even more complicated hidden beneath the surface? Because here's the twist that makes this entire story even more mysterious. Late that evening, a royal correspondent posted a cryptic message online claiming that additional palace footage exists that has not yet been released to the public. Footage that allegedly shows another figure entering the preparation chamber earlier that night. A second visitor. Someone whose identity has not yet been revealed. If that claim turns out to be true, it could completely rewrite the story everyone thinks they understand. Was Camilla the mastermind, or merely the person who got caught in the spotlight? And if more evidence surfaces, could the royal scandal explode into something even bigger than Exile? Because one thing is becoming painfully clear. Inside the glittering world of crowns, ceremonies, and royal tradition, power struggles never truly disappear. They just wait for the next moment to erupt. And according to palace insiders, this story may not be over yet. The moment that crown shattered, the world thought it had seen the full story. But what happened inside the palace afterward may be even more shocking. Because according to insiders, Prince William's explosive decision didn't just shake the royal family, it may have opened a secret power struggle that has been brewing for years. Supporters of Catherine, Princess of Wales, are now demanding answers. Royal watchers are questioning whether Queen Camilla was truly responsible, or if someone else inside the palace was quietly pulling the strings.
And the most disturbing part?
Several journalists are now claiming that more leaked footage and messages could surface at any moment. Footage that could completely change the narrative again. If that happens, the royal drama could explode into the biggest palace scandal in modern history. So the real question is no longer what happened to Catherine's crown. The real question is, who inside the palace wanted this humiliation to happen in the first place? And trust me, when the next piece of evidence drops, it might expose secrets the royal family has been hiding for decades. If you want the next shocking update the moment it breaks, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications. Because this story is far from over, and the next twist could change everything.